This is lesson 15, week 15 of 52. We're going to look at 1 Samuel 4 through chapter 24, and also Psalms chapter 7, 27, 31, 34, and 52 in our Through the Bible in 1 Year study. Last time we saw the faithlessness of the period of the judges in contrast to the obedience of a Moabite woman, Ruth, and the calling of Samuel to be the prophet or spokesperson of God to Israel. Now Israel went out against the Philistines to battle. 1 Samuel 4:1. Israel's main enemy at that time were the Philistines, and lacking faith that they could defeat them, they brought the ark from Shiloh to the battlefield, falsely believing it would bring them victory. It did not. And the Philistines fought, and Israel was smitten. There fell of Israel 30,000 men, and the ark of God was taken, and the two sons of Eli were slain. 4:10 and 11. When Eli heard the news of the ark and his sons, he fell backwards over his chair, broke his neck, and he died, 98 years old, having served his nation and God for 40 years. 4:18. The Philistines brought the captured ark to Ashdod and set it in the place of their god Dagon. 5:1 and 2. God intervened and brought his wrath upon that city and the statue of Dagon. And the hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great destruction, and he smote the men of the city, both small and great, and they had emeroids in their secret parts. Chapter 5, 3 through 6, and verse 9. The Philistines desecrated the ark by touching and looking into it, which not even the Levites were allowed to do. And God smote the Philistines because they had looked into the ark, 50,070 men. 6:19. The Philistines saw it was a curse and sent it back to the Israelites. They fetched up the ark and brought it into the house of Abinadab, 7:1 and 2, where it remained for the next 20 years, as Shiloh had no doubt been destroyed by the Philistines. The ark was finally back on Israelite ground. Hopefully they had learned it was not the ark that Israel should place their faith and trust in, but the God who had given it to them. Samuel's first official act as prophet was to encourage the Hebrew people to abandon their practice of idolatry. And Samuel spoke to all the house of Israel, saying, If you do return unto the Lord with all your hearts, then put away the strange gods and Ashtaroth from among you, serve only him, and he will deliver you out of the hands of the Philistines. Then the children of Israel did put away Baalim and Ashtaroth and served the Lord only. 7:3 and 4. But for how long? With God's help, Israel soundly defeated the Philistines in Mizpah. And Samuel took a suckling lamb and offered it for a burnt offering, and cried unto the Lord for Israel, and the Lord heard him. 7:9. The Philistines drew near to battle against Israel, but the Lord thundered with a great thunder, and they were smitten before Israel. 7:10. Then Samuel took a stone and set it between Mizpah and Shen, saying, Hitherto hath the Lord helped us. So the Philistines were subdued, and they came no more into the coast of Israel, and the hand of the Lord was against the Philistines all the days of Samuel. 1 Samuel 7:12 and 13. And Samuel judged Israel all the days of his life, and he went from year to year in circuit to Bethel and Gilgal and Mizpah. His return was to Ramah, for there was his house. 7:15 through 17. These are the cities that Samuel judged, and his circuit route was from Bethel to Gilgal, back to Mizpah, and finally home to Ramah. And he would repeat this circuit as a judge of Israel. And it came to pass, when Samuel was old, that he made his sons judges over Israel. His sons walked not in his ways, but turned aside after lucre, and took bribes and perverted judgment. 8:1 through 3. Like the sons of Eli, the sons of Samuel were evil and did not serve the God of Israel. Then all the elders of Israel gathered themselves together, and came to Samuel unto Ramah his home, and said unto him, Behold, thou art old, and thy sons walk not in thy ways. Now make us a king to judge us like the nations. But the thing displeased Samuel, and he prayed unto the Lord. 8:4 through 6. Lord spoke, They have not rejected thee, Samuel, but they have rejected me, that I should not reign over them. 8:7. Israel made yet another major blunder. Samuel reported to the people that God would permit them to have a king, but he also told them they would regret it, because 1. A king would take their sons to build a large army. 2. Their daughters would be forced into labor. 3. The people would become subjects of the king, who would take 1/10 of everything they produced. 8:11 through 18. He told them it would become so bad. You shall cry out in the day because of your king, which you shall have chosen, and the Lord will not hear you in that day. 8:18. But it did not dissuade them. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, No, but we will have a king over us. 1 Samuel 8:19. Now there was a man of Benjamin. He had a son whose name was Saul, a choice young man and goodly. And there was not among the children of Israel a goodlier person than he. From his shoulders and upward he was higher than any of the people. 9:1 and 2. God permitted the people's choice of Saul to be the first king of Israel. Now the Lord had told Samuel in his ear a day before Saul came, saying, I will send thee a man out of the land of Benjamin, and thou shalt anoint him to be the captain or the king over my people Israel. 9:16. Next Samuel anointed Saul with oil, and he received the Holy Spirit, both indicating he was chosen of the Lord, but only by his permissive will. One thing was missing, a king after the Lord's own heart. 1 Samuel 13:14 would be chosen to foreshadow the Messiah, and he would come through the tribe of Judah. Genesis 49:10, Revelation 5:5. Saul was not that man. Saul was told to go to Gilgal and wait for Samuel to come and offer a sacrifice. 10:8. as he had done previously. But Saul did not heed, and he tarried 7 days, according to the time set that Samuel had appointed. But Samuel came not to Gilgal. Samuel was late. And Saul said, Bring hither a burnt offering to me. And he offered the burnt offering. Bad idea. Samuel then came, and Samuel said, What hast thou done? Saul, thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God, which he commanded thee. For now would the Lord have established thy kingdom upon Israel forever. But now thy kingdom shall not continue through you. The Lord hath sought a man after his own heart. 13, 8 through 14. Another major aspect of God's plan for Israel was to include a king over a unified earthly kingdom. Here Samuel tells Saul he will not be that king. Samuel also said unto Saul, The Lord sent me to anoint thee to be king over the people. Now hearken thou unto the voice of the words of the Lord. I remember that which Amalek did to Israel when he came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek, and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, man, woman, infant, ox, and sheep. 15, 1 through 3. Because the Amalekites had savagely attacked Israel on their journey from the wilderness to Canaan, God said he would avenge that act. Exodus 17, 8 through 16. And Saul was to carry it out. And Saul smote the Amalekites, but Saul spared King Agag and the best of the sheep and of the oxen, and would not utterly destroy them. 15, 7 through 9. And Samuel said unto him, The Lord hath rent the kingdom of Israel from thee this day, and hath given it to a neighbor of thine, that is better than thou. And Samuel came no more to see Saul until the day of his death, repented that he had made King Saul over Israel. 15, 28 and 35. God would now choose the next king of Israel. Saul had been the people's choice, and God had permitted it to happen. But now God, in his directive will, would choose Israel's greatest king, and he would send Samuel to find him. Fill thy horn with oil, and go. I will send thee to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided me a king among his sons. 1 Samuel 16, verse 1. Jesse was the grandson of Boaz and Ruth, which would produce the lineage of David and then the Messiah. Samuel interviewed 7 sons of Jesse, but none were chosen. But the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not on his countenance, or on the height of his stature, for the Lord seeth not as man seeth. For man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on his heart. The Lord hath not chosen these. Are these all thy children? The answer, There remaineth yet the youngest. He keepeth the sheep. Jesse, send and fetch him. 16, 6 through 10. And he went and brought him in. Now he was ruddy, and withal of a beautiful countenance, and goodly to look at. And the Lord said, Arise, anoint him, for this is he. Then Samuel took the horn of oil, and anointed him in the midst of his brethren. And the Spirit of the Lord came upon David from that day forward. So Samuel rose up and went to Ramah. 16, 12 and 13. God's selection of David to be the next king of Israel had been made known and would one day come to pass, but in the meantime. But the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord troubled him. 16:14. Saul's troubled spirit could only be soothed by music, and he sought a musician. Well, guess who that would be? When the evil spirit from God was upon Saul, that David took a harp and played with his hand. So Saul was refreshed. The evil spirit departed from him. 1 Samuel 16:23. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle. And the Philistines stood on a mountain on the one side, and Israel on the other side. And there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath, of Gath, whose height was 9 feet 9 inches tall. And he stood and cried out, Choose you a man, and let him come down to me, if he be able to kill me, then we will be your servants. 17:1-9. Guess what happened then? When Saul and all Israel heard the words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. 17:11. And David said to Saul, Thy servant David slew both the lion and the bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be as one of them. I will take 5 smooth stones. I will come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel. And he took thence a stone, and slang it, and smote the Philistine in his forehead. So David prevailed with a sling and a stone. 17:34-50. Then Jonathan and David made a covenant, because he loved him as his own soul. 18:1. David had been chosen of God to be Israel's next king. He had the loving heart of a shepherd by destroying wild animals that threatened them, and the courage to go up against a giant. On the finer side of life, he was a musician and would be a writer of psalms or praises to God. And he became best friends with one whose father would try to kill him. Having been made the commander of Israel's army, they even wrote a song about him. Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000s. 18:7. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And Saul eyed David from that day forward. 18:9. And David fled, and came before Jonathan. What is my sin before thy father, that he seeketh my life? 20:1. David asked his friend why his father was trying to kill him. Neither knew the reason, but God did. And he next led David into a period of 10 years, between the prime ages of 20 to 30, wandering and fleeing the maniacal Saul. The Book of Psalms. The simplest description of the 5 books of Psalms is that they were the inspired prayer and praise book of Israel. They are revelations of truth, not abstractly, but in the terms of human experience. The truth revealed is wrought into the emotions, desires, and sufferings of the people of God, the Israelites, by the circumstances through which they pass. The imprecatory Psalms are the cry of the oppressed in Israel for justice, a cry appropriate and right in the earthly people of God, and based upon a distinct promise in the Abrahamic covenant, but a cry unsuited to the church, a heavenly people who have taken their place with a rejected and crucified Christ. Scofield Bible, page 599. And the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul, as he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand. And Saul sought to smite David with the javelin, but he slipped out of Saul's presence, and he smote the javelin in the wall, and David fled and escaped that night. 1 Samuel 19, 9 and 10. David escaped the harrowing experience and later lamented over it. In the Lord put I my trust. How say ye to my soul, flee as a bird to your mountain? For lo, the wicked bend their bow. They make ready their arrow upon the string, that they may privately shoot at the upright in heart. The Lord trieth the righteous, but the wicked and him that loveth violence his soul hateth. Psalms 11, 1 and 2. Until he ascertained why Saul wanted to kill him, David will temporarily flee Saul's presence. Saul also sent messengers unto David's house to watch him and to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, If thou save not thy life tonight, tomorrow thou shalt be slain. So Michal let David down through a window, and he went and fled and escaped. 1 Samuel 19:11. Saul hired assassins and attempted to slay David as he lay in his bed, but he escaped. Later, David reflected on that event in one of his Psalms. Deliver me from my enemies, O my God. Defend me from those who rise up against me. Consume them in wrath, that they not be. Unto thee, O my strength, will I sing, for God is my defense and the God of my mercy. Psalms 59, 1, 13 through 17. With God's help, David again narrowly escaped Saul's effort to kill him. It will not be the last. Then came David to Nob, to Amalek the priest. 1 Samuel 21:1. David was now on the run, trying to escape the spies of Saul, who were everywhere. 21:7. Fearing for his life, he asked the priests for a weapon and was given the sword of Goliath, of which they had taken possession after David's slaying of the giant. 21:9. I sought the Lord, and he heard me, and delivered me from all my fears. Psalms 34:4. And David arose and fled that day for fear of Saul, and went to Achish, the king of Gath. Then said Achish unto his servants, Lo, you see the man is mad. 1 Samuel 21, 10 and 14. David even feigned insanity to avoid capture by Saul. Then came up the Ziphites to Saul to Gibeah, saying, Doth not David hide himself with us in strongholds in the wood, in the hill of Achilah? Now therefore, O king, come down according to all the desire of thy soul, and our part shall be to deliver him unto the king's hand. 1 Samuel 23, 19 and 20. See therefore, and take knowledge of all the lurking places where he hideth himself. Saul also and his men went to seek him. He pursued after David in the wilderness of Mahon. David made haste to get away from the fear of Saul. But there came a messenger unto Saul, saying, Haste thee, and come, for the Philistines have invaded the land. And David went up from thence, and dwelt in strongholds in En-gedi. 1 Samuel 23:27 through 29. On the run, David barely escaped Saul's advances and network of spies, finally seeking refuge in the Judean wilderness while Saul went to fight the Philistines. And it came to pass, when Saul was returned from following the Philistines, that it was told him, saying, Behold, David is in the wilderness of En-gedi. 24:1. Saul nearly found David hiding in a cave. David, at least once, was close enough to kill Saul. David arose and cut off the skirt of Saul's robe privately. 24:4. But he could not kill him. The Lord forbid that I should do this thing unto my master, to stretch forth my hand against him, seeing he is the anointed of the Lord. 24:6. David the psalmist looked back at that time. O Lord my God, in thee do I put my trust. Save me from all them that persecute me, and deliver me. Psalms 7:1. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Psalms 27, verse 1. In thee, O Lord, do I put my trust. Let me never be ashamed. Deliver me in thy righteousness. Psalms 31:1. I sought the Lord, and he heard me, and delivered me from all my fears. 34:1. But I am like a green olive tree in the house of God. I trust in the mercy of God forever and ever. Psalms 52:8. Despite severe persecution from Saul, David trusted God would preserve his life until he became the next king of Israel. David knew the Lord was with him at every turn, but that did not keep him from being fearful. He prayed and asked God to help him overcome his fear, but he struggled with it. Little did he know that the fear of the Lord helped him to overcome during the 10-year period would help him to make the most courageous and fearless king Israel ever knew. Next time, Saul contacts a fortune teller. We're going to study 1 Samuel 25 through 2 Samuel 4 and the following list of Psalms.